What's going on? You're in the Beat Sessions. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. You love them or you hate them. Let's talk about the 1975 and this new record, Being Funny in a Foreign Language, that was released on October 14th. This is the band's fifth studio album and their follow-up to 2020's Notes on a Conditional Form. I struggle so much with this band. There's a lot that they do well. There really is a lot about this band that I love, especially, I would say most notably, the way that they just blend genres seamlessly. They just go to work and make music with a wonderful pop drive. I will say that being more of a pop band, I love when they're focused more on a rock and roll sound. It's what I dug about a lot of the music on Notes on a Conditional Form. Very guitar driven, oftentimes kind of even heavy. It's also an album that is a perfect example of this band's self-indulgence, especially Matt Healy. Like, I love him. I love his swagger. I love his flair, but there's just moments where like you can't help but just roll your eyes. And more often than not, I feel like it almost tips the scale just too much. But you look at Notes on a Conditional Form, for example, a lot of great music there, but it's also like 23 songs. It's an hour and a half. It's got an opening track titled The 1975, like the beginning of all their records. That is it's a spoken word intro. It's a speech that Greta Thunberg gave, which I just like for an album and for what they do, like it kind of falls into place. But again, it kind of falls into that level of self-indulgence. Like I just found it to be kind of tacky. To each their own as far as your opinion on that. I'm sure it'd be a great topic to have a debate on, but I didn't like it. And especially on an album that has 23 songs, it just seems like fluff. It seemed very unnecessary. So getting into this new record, seeing it's produced by Jack Antonoff, love the man. This is 11 songs, 44 minutes, tight, focused. I like the comeback off of just going so big on that last record. And I mean, people comparing these guys to Radiohead before they put that album out. I mean, they'd only put out like three LPs. I mean, quite a few EPs under their belt at that point. But it's like, come on. I mean, these guys are good, but they're not Radiohead. They're not even close to being that good. Not yet. And I'm going to argue that it's just not going to happen. They make solid music for the most part. There's a lot of fun stuff that they work in, but there is almost kind of like a ceiling as far as, this new record is a really good example of, as far as timing, the way that components are coming in. I love the horn arrangements. I love the string arrangements, but you kind of know when it's going to hit and when it's going to work its way into its song. And that element of predictability it's kind of a hindrance into really like these songs really catching me, really grabbing a hold of me and hooking me in. I will say that, Matt, he talks about where these guys are at this stage in life, sobering up, becoming parents, changing that perspective. And that was another thing that I was really excited about to check out this record for. I dig his snarkiness, his perspective of the world. Some people have even called him nihilistic. I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but he's got this rawness to him that I dig. It's and again, there's times where like sometimes I catch myself rolling my eyes at a couple of his lyrics, but for the most part, like I dig that approach and I dig that sincerity. That's something that he said. He's like, you can accuse me of being whatever, but you will never accuse me of being insincere. And to his credit, I agree with him. I think the man is very honest, very sincere, and an open book in his lyrics. I do admire him for that. But this new record, the first track, the 1975, is a good example of, you talk about that maturation. You talk about trying to present that different perspective to an audience who's accustomed to, you approaching the world in a certain way. And it starts off, I mean, and in the fourth line, he's talking about how he has a boner, and it's just that kind of like, that, like if you really want to talk about changing, that's the kind of line where I'm like, man, that little nuance, those little things throughout this record, it's definitely a pullback from previous records as far as that snarkiness and that attitude. But there's still those moments where it's like, man, I just feel like you're shortchanging yourself with lines like that. Not to mention this thing, it kicks off with the 1975 opening track, and it's they were talking about in Pitchfork, the reviewer mentioned, the opening track is like an homage to LCD Sound System. All My Friends, dude, it is a ripoff. Like I don't know how you don't give James Murphy credit for the opening track on this record. It just blows my mind. It it just immediately made me think of Vanilla Ice explaining the difference between the bass line in Ice Ice Baby and the bass line in Under Pressure. I just it's a ripoff. I'm just gonna say it. I was really disappointed that this record started that way, immediately thinking that I seriously pressed the wrong button when I started streaming this thing. You guys know that I'm always gonna stream these before I buy the album, and then I'll check out the quality of the vinyl. But I, I just this song is kind of blowing my mind as close to All My Friends as it is, and I'm just kind of wondering, Jack's a smart guy. He's a man of the world. Like, I just, as someone in that studio, I'd have been like, maybe we can mix this up. But I wasn't thrilled about that. The coda, it changes up. It's kind of interesting. There's like this loose guitar riff. The entire structure of the song changes. There's horns that build in. It has kind of this jazz feel to close. It's interesting. But you get your second song, Happiness, this light, funky flair after I got over being salty about that opening track. Took a few seconds, but I like the feel of this song. Percussion kicks in after the intro, and then it just goes to work. Got a really nice saxophone element to it, contemporary jazz feel, catchy, poppy. It's, for, I guess the second song usually functions as like the opening track for these guys. So it's a great way to kick these things off. I like the energy. Looking for Somebody to Love is your third song. Synth and drum hit to start. It's got this 80s pop feel. I'm feeling a lot of Peter Gabriel on this record. When they're not working with this like jazz or major pop influence, there's definitely this 80s soft rock and roll vibe that's driving this record, and I definitely like that working there. I think it's a great element to this record. It's that Looking for Somebody to Love has just got this solid driving rhythm. It's a pretty solid track. I'm a fan of it. Part of the Band, your fourth song, shuffling strings and vocal to open. I like the mellow feel and the build of the strings on this track. Pulls the energy back a little bit. It's shifts to this light acoustic guitar element, and then back to the strings. I like the jazzy breakdown in this track. It's got good structure. It's definitely one of the more fun compositions, I'd say, on this record. Oh, Caroline is your fifth song. It's got this piano and vocal intro. Builds in you get this like very Peter Gabriel-esque sounding track. It's light, romantic. I like the flair and feel of it. There's a kind of a sense of minimalism to it that's working for me. I'm in Love with You is your sixth song. Breezy riff to open. Track hits with a bright up tempo feel. That's one of the things that I wanted to talk about this band with. Is I will give credit where credit is due. When these guys are really writing a good composition, I feel that pop energy is just timeless. And there's a couple examples, including I'm in Love with You, that it's a timeless track. Like, it sounds like it could have come from the previous 4 decades, and I dig that about their sound. I dig that just the way that their music has evolved over the years, and the way that they're able to do that. It's definitely one of their strengths. All I Need to Hear is your seventh song. This is my favorite song on the record. This song is so good. I love the slide and Americana feel to open, and then just the feel that it maintains there. Just a lovely, bold bass line in this track. Minimal instrumentation that works in and out of it is awesome, but this is a really nice track that mixes up the overall feel of the record. And I would argue this is one of those moments where they're just really killing it from a songwriting standpoint. Wintering is your eighth track. Light pop rock, bit of a jangle pop feel. It's a pretty feel good track, but falling into that category of just not really memorable, not really hooking me in. Human 2 is real laid back. It's got this lounge feel, jazz, R&B. It's a nice track coming off of, I guess, I'll just say it, boring nature of Wintering. About You is your penultimate track. Strings and horns to open. I love the way that that opening ushers in the percussion, maintains the feel and the build. I love, like, Matt's voice is taking on this total 80s pop feel as well in this track, and when you check it out, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. But I like all of the elements in this penultimate track leading into When We Are Together, your final song. Mellow folk feel. It's pretty melody, and as that song finishes, you get the piano reprise from the opening track, the 1975. This is this is another one that I'm struggling with. It's a tight effort at 44 minutes and 11 tracks. I'm not feeling all of them. And that opening, I gotta level with you. If I'm gonna throw this record on and listen to it in its entirety, if I have to listen to that first track, it's just gonna make me want to throw on LCD Sound System. That's kind of where I'm at with this thing right now. It's a little frustrating that this record kicks off that way, and like it's breaking it for me. That and the couple of other tracks, Wintering wasn't really super crazy about, and I mean there's so much to like here, and I hate to do this, but I'm gonna have to pass on the vinyl on this thing. It's just not hitting me yet. Maybe I can go back and after a few months, if this thing is hitting me, I can rescind this statement and maybe give it a please. But for now, I'm gonna have to pass on the wax. I would say check this record out though. There's a lot of fun music on this thing to listen to. It's certainly worth streaming and giving a go. Like I said, a lot going on here that I dig. It's tight. It's well put together. The production from Jack is great. It's certainly worth giving a little bit of time to. So hope you find this review helpful. Hope you enjoy this record. If you check it out, please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, do all of the things to help MB, Keith, and I blow this project up in 2022. And stay tuned throughout the week for more album reviews. We will see you next time on the Beat Sessions.